I'm Sayakat Cosplay and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the second part of the Evelynn costume build. So this is part 2. This video is going to include the wig styling and the making of the coat dress and finishing up the costume, making the arms for the spikes, and yeah, it's done. I took some photos and I'm pretty happy with how the costume came out. The build guide is now available on my web store. You can check out my store envy or my Etsy to snag that build guide. It has all the patterns for the costume and lots of how-tos, sewing instructions, etc. So that's really nifty and handy, and you can snag that again at my web store. This video is kind of a tutorial slash build vlog. It's got a lot of how I made everything, how I put the wig together, the coat dress, etc. I will say about the wig, I styled it before all the art for her hair was available, so it's not quite the correct style, but it's still awesome, I think. And you can still use all of the wig styling tips and tricks to style your own Evelynn wig. Alright, let's go ahead and get into all of my making of footage. Welcome to part 2 of the KDA Baddest Evelynn build. Like I said in the intro, this video is part vlog, part tutorial, part I have no idea. But also, like I said in the intro, if you want to make Evelynn for yourself, her patterns and build guide are now live. Link to my web store is down below. If you missed part 1 of this tutorial series, I will link it in the cards up above here now. First off, the wig. I'm gonna say this now, the way that I styled it, it is my own interpretation, and apparently she wears her hair in a variety of buns, styles, and victory rolls, and while the final style might not be quite right, the techniques used can be applied to different styles. I chose to style it into a single central bun, but you can easily switch this for 2 smaller buns, victory rolls, etc. The wig I am using is an Arta Silky Venus in Iris. I went with the silky version since it is less prone to tangling, and this is a longer wig, and longer wigs will tangle no matter what, but the silky fibers tangle less. This is a non-lace front wig. I chose not to use a lace front for budget reasons, but if you have a bit more to spend, a lace front will make your life a bit easier when it comes to styling the wig. First step, the bangs. She has very stylized 50s style bangs that look like it has some poof to it. Before I put the wig on the mannequin head, I tried the wig on and cut a small section at the middle front of the bangs to mark the final length of the bangs. I'm first going to add texture to all the bang fibers by heating small sections with a flat iron and then teasing the section while the fibers are still hot. I did this to all the bangs and let the fibers cool completely before brushing out all the teasing. It will look like a complete hot mess as you do this. This is fine and normal. Brush out all the teasing and start to style. I found where I had marked the bang length and did a first rough cut to take out most of the length of the bangs that I didn't need. I smoothed out the top layer of fibers with a flat iron and used hairspray and a hair dryer to set the fibers at the top of the bangs upwards for a bit more poof. By the way, got to be glued hairspray is pretty much the gold standard for wig styling. I've tried other hairsprays and they just don't work as well. Setting the spray with heat makes it set really quickly and really hold really well. Now comes the fun slash tricky part, shaping the bangs into the sort of V shape that she has. I worked slowly, both blunt cutting and point cutting to get the final shape. Blunt cutting is when you cut straight across the fiber, and point cutting is when you cut up into the fiber. Point cutting makes bangs look a bit more natural, or just haircuts look more natural in general. The bangs will probably be pretty short at the sides. That's okay. That's what ended up happening to my wig. I will say once I was done and tried the wig on, I had to spray the tips of the bangs down and to themselves. So be aware that how it looks on the mannequin head might be different from how it looks when you're wearing it. So always make sure to try it on and adjust as needed before you finish the styling. Once the bangs are styled and thoroughly set, it's time to move on to the sides of the wig and the bun. I separated out the hair going into the ponytail except for the sideburns sections. Since this is not a lace front, the sideburns have wefts right up to the edge. To avoid seeing the wefts and the weft tracks, I used my crimping iron to crimp and texture the top couple inches of the wig fibers in those sections. This makes hiding the wefts easier and gives the fibers more coverage over that area. Once crimped, I went ahead and crimped the top couple of inches of fiber all around the top under the ponytail and brushed that out, basically to do the same thing as the sideburns. This wig isn't wefted to be a ponytail wig, and the wefts are somewhat visible if you pull the fiber up into the ponytail too much or pull too much fiber into the ponytail. So this is just hedging your bets and texturing the upper sections of the fibers to give more coverage over where the wefts might be exposed. Once all of that texturizing is done, I styled and set the sideburns sections so that none of the wefts were exposed, set them with hairspray in the hairdryer, and put those sections into its own hair tie. I finalized the ponytail section, released some fiber from it, retied it, and set to styling the bun. To create the center of the bun, I teased some sections of the ponytail. I heated them up, teased them, and let them cool. I didn't brush them out, and I didn't need all the fiber from the ponytail since this creates a nice light core for the bun. I set the bun core into its final shape with some hairspray and bobby pins, and then I was ready to wrap that thing with more fibers to make the outer layer all nice and smooth. I crimped a couple of sections from the ponytail so that this makes covering the core easier, and started laying that down around the outside of the bun, spraying and setting those sections until the entire outside of the bun was just that crimped fiber and none of the teased core was showing, and that's entirely hidden. At this point, I tried the wig on and discovering that, like most wigs, I suffer from my head is too small for the wig, and I needed to do some interior wig surgery to make the wig fit correctly. So I cut 3 wefts behind the sideburns section and folded them over and sewed them to one of the elastic bands to allow room for my ear and the wig to sit around my ear comfortably. I also moved the elastic on the sides from where it was attached to the sideburns sections up and over. I used a curved wefting needle and some regular thread doubled over to do this. Just be aware, not everyone will need to do this, but for us tiny head folks, doing this type of interior work makes the wig fit better and more comfortably for long-term wear. When I wear this wig, I use eyelash glue or spirit gum to glue down the sideburn sections over my own sideburns. Otherwise, because of the internal surgery that I did, it won't sit completely flat. Okay, that is the wig done and styled and ready to wear. Now it's on to the coat dress. This is a single garment. I chose not to make a separate top and bottom. I chose to make a single garment. The line patterns for this dress are included in the build guide, but I didn't grade them. Grading means making different sizes. That takes a really long time, but hopefully the pattern will be helpful in making your own. I did include hopefully fairly detailed sewing instructions, so that's all included in the build guide. So to make the coat dress, I first made a basic pattern from a men's suiting pattern that I had. I didn't have my own pattern for this, so I made my own pattern. I used the suiting pattern to make and cut out basic suiting shapes, drape that on my dress form, and make my own pattern. Once I had made my own pattern for this, I used that pattern to cut out more muslin to make a mock-up. Always make a mock-up. If you don't make a mock-up, you're probably going to be sad. I've made that mistake before. I've not made a mock-up, gone into my final fabric, and then had lots of errors and things to fix and make a mock-up. So I made the mock-up, tried everything on, made some adjustments to the pattern, tore that mock-up up to use as the pattern for my final fabric, and cut that final fabric out. I am fully lining this coat, so I am cutting into my fabric 2 times to make 4 pieces of each piece, except for the collar. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Maybe. I have been sponsored by Shannon Fabrics with this lovely silky satin. Links to their fabric are down below. I'm also using Famori Cutlery scissors for this project. I'm an affiliate for them. Links and coupon code down below. Cut all my fabric. This is like what takes the longest almost. And sew everything together. Yeah, that's it. All right, cool. Done. Nah, not exactly. You're going to want to start by sewing the darts on the back sections together. And you're also going to, don't forget about the interfacing. You're going to need to cut out interfacing for the fashion layer. I'm interfacing this because it gives the fabric more stability and gives the garment more structure. So I'm cutting out interfacing for the outer fashion layer and then ironing all of that interfacing onto the outer fashion layer. I'm interfacing the back pieces once I've sewn up the darts. You don't have to do it in this order, but that's the order that I did it in. Once you have ironed on all of your interfacing, it's time to start sewing. So I sew up the back seam first, and then I sew the side panel to the front panel along the curved seam. That seam can be a little bit tricky to sew, so you're going to want to make sure to clip that seam and make sure you ease that seam through your machine. I'm also top stitching the back center seam and those side front panel seams. This gives the garment a little bit more detail, and also make sure that the seam allowances on the inside lay correctly and lay in the direction that you want them. Don't forget to press your seam allowances open and press them in the direction that you want to. Always make sure to remember to press your seam allowances. And then I put the sleeves in. I used to hate setting arms and sleeves, but I don't anymore. And you want to align the sleeve seam with the seam of the side of your garment. And to make setting arms a little bit easier, you're going to want to put some basting along the top edge to create some ease when setting the sleeve. A pro tip when sewing in a sleeve is to put the sleeve fabric down, so put it towards your machine. The feed dogs on a machine feed fabric a little bit faster than the top feeds, so if you have a little bit of extra fabric in the sleeve, that's going to feed a little bit faster and go through a little bit faster. Do the same thing for the lining layer as for the outer fashion layer, except don't put in all the interfacing, and you are ready to install the collar and the lining into the coat. Well, almost. Thank you. To set the collar in, I sewed it first to the fashion layer, lining up the center back and the center of the collar. I laid the fashion layer and lining right sides together and sewed the lining in along the collar edge. I checked how everything was laying, clipped the ease on the collar as necessary and the front edge, and then finished sewing in the lining down the front sides. From there, I flipped the lining over, stuck the sleeves from the lining down the sleeves, and voila! Wait, no. I need to hem the thing. I actually didn't film me lining up the lining and fashion layer of the hem for an hour and pressing that and looking at it on my dress form, but basically I folded in both layers, lined them up to make sure the drape for both layers were correct, so I did on the dress form, and pinned everything into place. Then it's time to top stitch the whole outer edge, including up the front and around the collar. You don't have to top stitch the front and collar, but I think it looks nice. Then it's time to hem the sleeves. I left the sleeves intentionally long to be able to hem them to the length that I wanted and not worry about ending up with short sleeves. So the pattern piece is on the longer side. Same procedure as the hem, but while I'm wearing the coat. Well, not sewing when I'm wearing the coat, that'd be really hard, but you know, pinning and getting the thing ready to sew. The last finishing bits are making the pocket flap, belt loop, and installing closures. I did remember to film a bit of putting the belt together, which is very easy. It's a 3-inch wide strip of fabric, so I cut out a 4-inch wide by about 30 inches long strip, 2 of them, interfaced the sides and sewed 3 of the sides closed, 1 of the short and both of the long sides, with right sides together, turned it right side out, closed the open end, and then I top stitched the whole thing. I put Velcro on the ends for closures for the belt, and under the wig, you don't notice it. I'll put a clip of the coat on the dress form to see the finished thing here. So this is my Evelynn coat dress. It is made out of Shannon Fabrics silky satin in both the interior and the exterior, so it is fully lined. The exterior layer has been interfaced, so you can see it's fully lined to give it some more structure. I've gone ahead and done some top stitching on some of the seams, so these side seams here and the center seam down the back is also top stitched, just a little extra detail. The belt velcros in the back, so that's just Velcro in the back there, and it hides the Velcro for the spikes. So the spikes actually Velcro on in the back here, and they just sit there underneath the belt, and the belt hides that attachment. Yeah, and it closes with 4 snaps in the front. So there's 1 here, 1 over here to overlap this side and keep it down, and then the snap down here and a snap here. And then this guy's just sewn on. It's kind of annoying because this is a fake pocket, and it's sewn there and it's sewn there, so you kind of have to like step into the dress because that's how I sewed it on. You could take the sewing off and like make it detachable if you wanted to make that less annoying, but yeah, this is how it came out. I'm pretty happy with it for making this in 2 days. I mean, the whole thing wasn't made in 2 days, but the dress jacket thing was made in 2 days. Yeah. Yay. Last bit is to finish spikes and make these spike arms. I had made the spikes out of foam in the previous video. To make the spike arms, I took wire from coat hangers, made a hook on one end to attach the spike into, and glued on a 3.5-inch wide strip of craft foam. To cover all the glue mess, I glued on a smaller strip of foam over the glue and wire. I sewed some spike arm socks covers from Satin and then placed the spike into the hook/fabric. I hot glued the crap out of the spike fabric wire end, and the spike hangs down in the art, so I wasn't super worried about the spike needing to be at any specific angle. This hook and fabric hold the spike in well enough. I'm sure there are better ways of attaching the spikes to the spike arms to make them sturdier and be able to hold an angle, but I didn't need to, so I didn't. That's just how my brain works. I whip stitched the fabric over the spike handle to close that gap and to make it look pretty and hide all the glue, and top stitched the fabric to the foam with my machine. You can easily sew through craft foam as long as there's no glue that the needle is going to puncture through. So top stitching was sort of tricky as the spike and the spike arm kept hitting the wall behind my machine awkwardly, but I've sewn weirder things, so I made it work. I glued the fabric shut at the end of the arm. I could have sewn it shut if the fabric had been a bit longer, but whatever. I glued Velcro onto the end and sewed some Velcro onto the dress under where the belt lies so the belt hides the connection point. The spike is posable and simply Velcros onto the dress. Wow, Toki, you are purring so loud. I'm wondering if the mic is picking it up. Anyway, that's the costume. That's it done. I was able to take some photos in the costume in full makeup, and I think it came out really, really well. So that is the end of the part 2 of the making of Evelynn. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button and bell notification for next time I put up another costume tutorial. or other types of videos. You know, just hit that bell notification. And if you have any comments or questions or whatever about the costume itself or the build, please don't forget to leave a comment down below. Alrighty guys, I will see you all later.